Gut reaction. Why I changed my protein and got a miracle body. Fitness is an ideal for everyone. Living better is an ideal for everyone. Living longer, being gentler on the earth is an ideal, I'd say, for most of us. And that's why this particular session truly involves us all. It has to do with your fitness, it has to do with your life, and I can guarantee that in the next 25 minutes, you're going to be going away with something in your stomach and definitely something to chew on. The theme of this year's India Today Conclave is a better normal. Now, unlike some years ago, it's quite normal now to actually choose to be vegan, and it wasn't that way a few years ago. But our next session involves a subject and panelists who don't just believe a plant-based diet is an option, they believe it's an imperative if you want to live better, be gentler on the world, and as you will hear from one of our panelists joining us from the United Kingdom today, actually far better and the best you can ever possibly hope to be. Please join me in welcoming James Wilks, all the way from the United Kingdom. He's the director and star of The Game Changers, a documentary about the discovery of a plant-based diet and how it can change your life. The path to a plant-based diet for James has been one fraught with controversy, fraught with injury, and fraught with inspiration. And we're going to talk about that. Also, a great privilege to welcome onto stage Genelia and Riteish Deshmukh. They need no introduction. Genelia and Riteish, could you please join me on stage? Big hand, ladies and gentlemen, for all three. I'm sure most of us here already know why Genelia and Riteish stars, are part of a protein, plant-based diet session, but you'll know in just a couple of minutes why. Welcome to all of you. Thank you, James, for being with us. Genelia and Riteish, great to see you.
Thank you,
James, if I could start with you, your discovery of veganism and a plant-based diet actually began with a terrible injury. Isn't that right? It was an injury which threatened to debilitate you for life. There was the possibility that you would be paralyzed. And it is at that time that you actually spent some time reading. You read about the Roman gladiators, one hears. And that's how you discovered that if you wanted to not just live, but live excellently and better, you needed to switch immediately from meat to a plant-based diet. Tell us about that transformation, James.
Yeah, that's correct. So for people that don't know, I'm a combatives instructor, so I train the Navy SEALs and Marines in hand-to-hand combat. And I was also a fighter in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is a mixed martial arts organization, the premier organization in the world. And I got injured, and I thought, well, what can I do with my time that's productive? I need to heal. And so I thought, well, I can look into diet to see what would be the optimal nutrition plan for recovery. And then also, once I'd recovered, what would be the optimal nutrition for athletic performance? So I started digging, and that's when I came across a study about the Roman gladiators. They analyzed the bones, 5,000 bones of gladiators, and they did a strontium-calcium analysis and a radioisotope analysis. And they can tell that they were eating almost exclusively plants. And I thought, well, that can't be true, because to be athletic, to be strong, you need meat for muscles. And to grow strong bones, you need milk and dairy. And so it's really shocked me, and I really started digging into it. That wasn't enough to convince me, of course, but I started really digging into it. And the more and more I dug into the science, I realized that not only is meat and dairy unnecessary, but it's actually detrimental to both health and athletic performance. And so many of the biological mechanisms, endothelial function, which is the lining of your arteries that produces nitric oxide, which is a vasodilator, allows the arteries to open up, inflammation, many of these biological mechanisms that impact health also affect athletic performance, but also, for those that have seen the film, also our sexual performance as well. And so I started really digging into it, interviewing the head of nutrition at Harvard, the head of anthropology at Harvard, the president of the American College of Cardiology, the head of urology for the American Medical Association. And the more I learned, the more I realized, we've got it all wrong. I've been marketed to and lied to by the industry, and that we actually should be shifting towards eating a plant-based diet.
In the audience, you've probably noticed that you've got plates being brought to your tables. And the reason for that is because as much as this is a movement all around the world, a plant-based diet, Riteish and Genelia have actually decided here in India to put their money where their mouth is, literally. And that's the reason why the plates in front of you are products from their new company, and it's called Imagine Meats. A big round of applause. Those plates are right there in front of you. Congratulations on the new venture, Riteish and Genelia. I hear, Genelia, that when you got married and, when you sat at the dining table, there was only meat on your table.
Only
and now
meat.
all those plates have chicken kebabs, mutton kebabs, and chicken nuggets, and there's no chicken or mutton in any of them.
There's just plants in it. Yeah, but that's true. When I got married, there was only meat. I was like, can we have some vegetable with it? He's like, no, this is it.
What was the transformation like? Because you're both carnivores. Like James, you're both former carnivores. Yes. You loved your meat, believed that meat was good for you, like most people do. What changed? How did that switch happen? For James, it was an injury. He did some reading. What was it for you that made you decide?
So about 5 years ago, like you said, I was an absolute carnivore. 5 years ago, one day suddenly it was one of those mannats, that we keep, and I quit non-vegetarian. But a year after that, I started craving for my non-vegetarian, and I wanted my mutton, I wanted to my chicken, but of course I wanted to stick by what I had thought strongly about. But my craving did not go. And we were in America at that time, and we were fortunate enough to, taste some of the plant-based meats there, new companies coming up. And one day, Genelia got these, burgers home, which I had no idea. She minced it, she put her own masala, and served me keema pao. And after a year and a half, when I had that keema pao, I was like, oh my God, I'm such a happy vegetarian today, But that was it, we missed our meat. And at that point, I realized that India is not a burger-eating nation. We love our burgers, but we are not primarily a burger-eating nation. And all the companies overseas were only making burgers and sausages. And that time, I remember discussing with Genelia, and she said, why not, figure this out? And we love our kebabs, we love our tikkas, we love our biryanis. Is this possible? It was just a thought. And 3 years ago, this journey started, and here we are today. Tasting some Imagine Meats.
No, I gotta say, I smell only meat in this room, and there's no meat in any of those plates. That's pretty incredible, because Genelia, that's what you said, right? This isn't just about non-meat meat. It's supposed to emulate the entire experience of it.
The entire sensory aspects to it, I feel.
And I hear people like eating quietly, so it looks like they're enjoying
That's a good thing. And the good part is it's all from plants, right? So it makes you feel...
Tell us what's in it. Tell us what's in it.
So there are various proteins that we've kind of got together. It's science with plant, with a lot of good things that finally give you the taste, the feel, the smell of meat. And I feel nobody out here, everyone likes their meat, the non-vegetarians like their meat, but it's not like you want to harm the environment or you want to, be cruel to animals very often. It's just that addictive taste that you have, or the texture that you like, or this, things that you like to eat where meat is concerned. But if you're getting the exact same thing with your plants, you don't have any other reason to complain, or, and everyone would want that option. So I think that's where the idea stemmed from, to give options. When we were in America, we got that option and we felt happy about it. We ate it in a certain way. Similarly, here, our entire motive is to provide, enough of options. So when we speak about Imagine Meats, when we initially thought about it, we said we'll start with 2 products. Then we said, no, we need breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, and we managed that out. Yeah. So I feel that food tech today is just on another level. Yeah. And it'll keep growing. There'll keep being versions to it, just like you have with your iPhones or with your cars. It's just an emerging market, and it's exciting, and we're in a phase where we can literally change our planet one bite at a time.
Okay,
So-
one bite at a time, and those bites are still happening. James, I read a little bit when I was researching for this session about your diet and the things you do on a daily basis. You were an ultimate warrior, mixed martial arts guy. I mean, it doesn't get more physical than that. You trained, elite special forces warriors. So the public perception around the world is you've got to get your proteins, you've got to get your meat, and meat has to be a part of becoming that sort of fighting warrior. What kind of pushback did you get? And do you get from, the meat-eating community, the athletic community that still believes in meat, for fitness and high competitive performance, when you talk about how a plant-based diet is actually something that can make you a better fighter and a better athlete?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I had that same misconception that we really need meat to build muscle. And then something really clicked when I realized that animals are just the middlemen, and they're basically doing us a disservice, right? So protein originates in plants, and the animals just consume that protein, and then they're doing you a disservice because they're adding in saturated fat, they're absorbing a lot of the phytonutrients and things that are really beneficial, the fiber and so forth. And so when you're eating the meat, you should just basically cut out the middleman, right? Like a business concept, and go straight to the source. So that was the first thing that really sort of put a light switch on in my mind. But we did get quite a bit of pushback from people that are either funded by the meat industry or just really passionate about their meat. But I'm surprised at the real shift that it's had. We had a consulting analyst run numbers only just a few weeks ago that showed that 75% of the increased interest in plant-based eating since 2004 is a direct result of the Game Changers documentary. And so people from all walks of life, from grandmothers to firefighters to special forces, really I'm seeing a lot of people adopting this diet. And we to show the sort of film's success and how people were really interested in plant-based diets, we had over 1.5 billion media impressions, 40,000 organic articles written about the film. And so we did get some pushback, but the documentary is the first to ever be accredited by the Department of Defense in the US. And it's now accepted as an accreditation by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics for ongoing medical education credits. So although there was a lot of pushback, it's been really accepted by the large organizations as being scientifically accurate. And I think that really people are just tied by their identity, and we need to let the science overcome it.
Because there seems to be, Riteish and Genelia, there seems to be a sort of almost an evangelical element to, convincing people about veganism. At one point of time, it was looked at with a little bit of distrust about, what is this movement really all about? Here in India, vegetarianism has been part of Indian culture for a very, very long time. But veganism, do you face any pushback? Because, kids here grow up with, you need to eat your eggs and your milk to grow up big and strong. Do you get pushback from parents and customers or people who are kind of dubious about this whole, plant-based diet thing?
You're absolutely right, Shiv. When initially I have grown up drinking milk and having my eggs every day, and it has been part of my diet for a very long time. But till you don't try, till you don't experience with your own body, how much ever you tell people, it's going to be difficult. But the moment, and I have to, congratulate James here, because when we started with this thought, I had not seen, the Game Changer. But when I saw Game Changer, it made me reassure at various levels that we are on the right path. And I'm sure that, Game Changer, apart from propagating what is right and differentiating between animal protein and plant protein, it also, it's easier to convince people. Like if I have to tell people about veganism or plant protein, I just have to tell them, go to Netflix, watch Game Changers, it'll change your life.
James is going to be very happy to hear that.
Yeah, and absolutely. And thank you, James, for this
you.
wonderful documentary.
Genelia, the products that your company has put out are, plant-based meats, and it's called Imagine Meats. My question to you is, are these products a kind of bridge? Is the ultimate goal to get people to eat plant-based, diets and not necessarily miss meats at all.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's been proven time and time again that, meat isn't great for your health, A. It isn't great for the environment, B. And I honestly feel that everyone wants to do it like us. We were pure non-vegetarian eaters, right? But we saw the change coming. We saw our kids, the younger generation.
Your kids are vegan
Yeah,
as
my
well.
kids are vegan. And my kids are thin. They're vegan. But they are 5 and 7, all are 5 and 7, and they walk 15, 16 kilometers at a stretch without feeling tired even at one bit, So when I look at them, and when I look at everyone else, and I'm like, there are days that we used to feel slumpy, low on energy, and we've seen the change. So when you see things like that changing for the better, you hope that you can share it out with everyone. I also feel India comes from a place of being guilty non-vegetarian eaters. We have a lot of festivals, we have a lot of cultures where we don't eat at home, but we probably go out and eat. Here's your chance to eat plants at home and feel the same as eating meat. So
how does it work with your kids? Because I'm sure they have friends, who have to have their doodh and their eggs in the morning. Do your children also talk about veganism? Because 5 and 7 is very young.
Yes, they do. They ask, which surprises me. They ask, is this cake vegan or not? And, there are times like people ask me, how are you going to manage this in school? It's impossible. I'm like, I'll do my best. I mean, I'd like them to be how they would want to be. But they teach me. Like the first time my son came back home, he looked at the dog and he's like, we have a dog at home and we're eating meat. And that got me thinking. I was like, I can't love one animal and, do this to another. That literally got me thinking. So while I was vegetarian for personal reasons and for health reasons, I never thought about the whole animal welfare aspect. So I feel the younger generation is more into sustainability and is more aware of animal welfare. They're conscious eaters. They want to do their bit to save the environment. So they will teach us. And I think my kids, for one, have taught me to stand out there and make chicken nuggets as tasty as, the real chicken nuggets. Yeah.
Because one of the ongoing debates, as we've seen in the last few years, isn't just about whether a plant-based diet is better for you, but also about whether it's gentler on the environment. And as you rightly pointed out, the current generation is invested in, a better world. James, for a lot of people will be wondering because people like actionable information that they can, process when they are consuming what we've served them today, but also wondering if someone was a non-vegetarian, James, they ate meat, they ate mutton, chicken, whatever it is, and they switched to a plant-based diet. In your view, with all the data available, and you've done a lot of research, how long before they start to see those changes in their body and their health? Is there a time where they can start looking at those? Because those are the things that will convince them that they've taken the right decision.
Sure. Well, I think there's a couple of things there. So first off, while, I think a lot of people are willing to go all the way vegetarian, we like to say that it's all or something, not all or nothing, because I think if people think they have to take that step overnight, that's a big step for people. And the science really does show that if you shift towards eating more plant foods, there's incremental benefits along the way. So people should keep that in mind. It's not all or nothing. It's all or something. And you could be flexitarian and be eating, imagine meats sometimes, and sometimes be eating some meat and dairy. But if you switch over, it really depends on where you started, right? So if you're more sick and you have diabetes and you're overweight, I think you're going to notice the changes more than if you're young and healthy, relatively healthy. So it is going to make a difference. For me, when I switched, within 6 weeks, my strength went up considerably. My endurance went up. We do the battling ropes where you're swinging the ropes, big shipping rope, 50-foot shipping rope. I couldn't even do 10 minutes. Within 6 weeks, I was able to do over an hour, which was the record at the gym. So for me, in 6 weeks, I noticed the big endurance difference. I was already lean. I didn't really have any health issues. So I didn't notice huge health changes, but I certainly noticed that in the gym and going for runs and things like that. And in touching on the environment issue that you just mentioned as well, it is the number one thing that we can do. So obviously we need the decarbonization of the energy system, but reducing animal agriculture, the 70 billion animals that we consume every year, it's the number one cause of deforestation in the Amazon, the number one cause of hypoxic dead zones in the ocean. And we really just need, for ourselves and for the planet to shift in this plant-based direction.
Riteish, has the pandemic and all of these emerging concerns about eating animals, has that provided a huge spike in interest and the exploration of a plant-based diet? Has that helped?
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And it's not about India, it's world over. The kind of numbers that we see with regards to plant-based companies and the exponential growth that we have seen. And the growth is in 20%, 25%, up to 30%. Some companies have gone up to 100% growth. And if you compare this growth to meat manufacturers are low single-digit numbers. And when we look at bigger companies like UBS and Bloomberg, who have done research, data analysis, and when they look at data of the sales of all these products, and they say that by 2030, plant-based meats would be 10% of the meat market, which is huge, which is approximately $200 billion. And this is also because the kind of interest, the kind of change. And I feel, though we might be floating around, convincing people how plant-based is better, but the change is coming, and it's going to hit India really fast and really soon.
Okay, so there has been a spike, but the big wave, you say, has still yet to come. Because Indians, by their very nature, are dubious about claims. They like more information, and I'm sure that information is going to come. All of our guests today have been treated to, chicken and mutton right now, and they've all had their plates. What about fish? I have to ask, and this is personal for me, because it's the only thing I miss if it's not there, and that's fish. So, and I'm sure a lot of people think so as well. Maybe the next time you guys come, will there be like a fish, non-fish product?
For you especially, and for everyone here, we will have some great fish.
Yes.
Promise next time we'll be here.
Yes, it's work in progress, and we'll see it soon, yeah.
Genelia, I wanted to ask you about claims. When it comes to claims about health, people instantly get their guard up a little bit, because nothing is more important to people than their families and their health. And when claims are made like this is going to make your life better, you're going to feel better, you're going to run faster, you're going to be able to lift heavier weights, people always will be a little skeptical. Is the data that supports all of this still work in progress, or is there enough to actually get out there and convince people to make that switch?
No, I think there's enough. I think if someone who is a non-vegetarian that changes to a to a vegan, like today I'm a plant-based diet, and I feel great about it. I've never gone to the gym before. Riteish pushed me into the gym this year, and I'm lifting weights that I didn't know I could, or to the fact that my kids can walk 15 kilometers, 16 kilometers when they're 5 and 7. I think all these things are in itself acknowledgement that this diet really does work. And initially, and I'm talking about India, there were a lot of vegetarian houses who went into eating eggs or meat because they felt that their protein intake was less. Here with plant-based meats, your protein intake is the same as any other meat that you eat, as any other conventional meat that you eat. And the benefit of it is that there's zero cholesterol. So plants don't have any cholesterol issues. It's a win-win situation in any which way. So I just feel that trying it out would make you feel the difference. Like we had times where, we went off dairy, and then we would have like a bit of dairy and our stomach would just feel bloaty and full. We ignore those issues very often in life because we think, you're just not feeling great today, or you ate too much. But it's probably the fact that your stomach can't digest so much of milk or meat that is the real reason. So that's what I think.
If that wave is coming, we'll have to wait for it. We'll see how big it actually gets. Like I said, this is a country where vegetarianism is an ancient eating practice, but the switch to veganism we'll still have to wait and see. Lots of data you've gotten. You've got to sample some of that food as well. And Riteish and Genelia promise us that there'll be even more the next time they come here. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your message and the information. James, great speaking to you and a privilege to have all of you here at the India Today Conclave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.